Tyson we've been looking for all night. So no matter what happens...
And at one point along the way, George, he left himself open for that vicious left hook that changes your life.
Three fights the world will never forget. The boxing world has gone from its heavyweight era to the MMA one. However, there are fights in the great history of boxing that will never be erased from our memories. Here are three fights the world will never forget. Mike Tyson versus James Douglas, 1990. It was 1990 when Mike Tyson came face to face with James Douglas in Tokyo. In the beginning, there was no such excitement about this bout. But when the final bell was rung and this fight came to an end, the whole world stopped for a moment. The reason why this fight went down in history as one of the most unforgettable bouts is that it was during this match when the undefeatable Iron Mike was finally defeated. Tyson was considered one of the best heavyweight champions of his generation, also the youngest one, the most ferocious American former professional boxer with an explosive career. On the other hand, Douglas was also undoubtedly very strong, with a beastly physique at nearly 6'4" in height. He had all the necessary skills to beat anyone. And that is why it was not so thrilling when Tyson and Douglas's boxing was announced. According to the sources at the time, Douglas was simply another in a long list of opponents for Tyson. No one seemed particularly enthused by the choice, least of all the champion. It was even speculated that Douglas would last as long as a plate of tuna in a sushi bar. Moreover, just 2 years before this fight, Mike Tyson knocked out Michael Spinks in just 91 seconds and made a record. Later, he said, "It was all I would ever think about, the heavyweight championship. I was going to be a god of war like my trainer Cuss told me." So, it was expected that Douglas would become just another victim of Tyson's rage. However, nothing of that sort happened. Douglas finally showed his potential and did the unthinkable. He came with his left jab, sometimes doubling it and adding a right hand at times. Round after round, it became evidence that Tyson wouldn't be the one with the winner's crown. They came to see Godzilla, but the wrong guy turned out to be the monster, the sports writer Larry Merchant said. People came for a show, not for a fight. That was not the point of bringing Mike Tyson there. So, there was this eerie kind of silence. As the ring for the 7th round was heard, Tyson's left eye was badly swollen. Despite this, it was expected that Tyson would very soon explode with rage and will annihilate Douglas. For a long time, people speculated how Tyson lost to Douglas in his prime year, until Iron Mike himself revealed it was because of undertraining. "I don't know how I thought I could have won. I wasn't training properly. I had it coming." Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, 1971.
Frazier is smiling as he takes those jabs.
Another one of the most famous fights that could also be considered number one happened on the 8th of March 1971 between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Even the boxing director and trainer for the Bartender Boxing Organization, Tommy Neff, once remarked, "I think the Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier fight is one of the most iconic."
Get your hands off me.
The match was dubbed the Fight of the Century for the right reasons. The fight went on to become one of the most famous trilogies in the boxing world. As two of the greatest boxers of all time stepped into the battlefield, what happened between the two did not disappoint.
Frazier is not the easy target he used to be. He's bobbing and weaving all the time.
For many fans, the fight was a reflection of the times, the tussle between two cultures. As the bell was rung, each man proved his potential to the fullest.
Ali in the red trunks, Joe Frazier in the green trunks. They appear very light.
However, no matter how strong each fighter was, in the end, only one had to win. The highly anticipated match started off with the tide moving in Ali's favor, but Frazier undoubtedly worked his way towards the winning title.
Joe Frazier just literally...
In the last round, he floored Ali until his fate was sealed. After a furious fight, it was Frazier who walked out of the ring victorious.
Champion of the world, Joe Frazier!
Joe Frazier!
3 years after his historic boxing bout, Muhammad Ali would go on to take his revenge on Frazier.
It's all over.
Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward 2002.
Gaddy's been all over the scale, 130, 135, up to 147.
The fight that will go down in the golden history of boxing took place on May 18th, 2002, between Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward. This fight would also go on to become a trilogy, and the first fight, the greatest of them all, that happened between the two, is the one that keeps the fans coming back to it.
Now both these touch gloves, I leave it with you. Back in the corner. Stay back.
Even boxing experts agree that the trilogy fights between Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward are the greatest fights to have ever happened. Neff said, "It was the most competitive, back and forth, the brutal fight that I've ever seen." Neither guy was signed to a big promotion or manager, so they were literally fighting to put food on their table, and they did not disappoint. After the fight, they shared a hospital room. The reason why the first fight in the trilogy of fights between Gatti and Ward is considered to be the greatest of all is because of its sheer brutality.
Oh, look at the granite in Ward's chin. Didn't have to go in the round now.
From blood to guts and thrills to spills, it had everything, particularly the final round of the fight. It was extremely brutal, with both men taking shots at each other. During those moments, it was hard to decide who would take the lead, but eventually, it was Ward who came out victorious from that brutal fight. Even though the fight is remembered for its brutality, surprisingly, it was also the greatest display of mutual admiration and respect for each other. As per the sources, while they did terrible things to each other on the ring, they remained friends outside of it.
Like us don't come around too often. I think we're from the old times. You know, we just have big heart. We have big hearts. You know.
Moreover, after the epic battle, Gatti made a touching remark that perfectly summed up the greatest fight. "I used to wonder what it would be like to fight my twin. Now I know." Ever since these fights, the world of boxing has drastically changed. However, the legacy of these 3 fights still lives on. It is safe to say that these fights will never be forgotten, and we don't think we will ever see such great battles in boxing ever again. What do you guys think?